we are in a world where the pace is very quick.
Mm.
The pace is very quick. I think we also, many of us, not all of us, that's not, I don't want to assume there, but many of us are very quick to take on the beliefs of other people, what other people think we should do. I'm sat here saying, well, you should do this. Well, you should try not drinking. You should do ice water therapy. Take some time out, like just clear your schedule. Whatever you have going on can wait, because this is like what your mental health and well-being that is at stake here.
Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to an episode of the Prime Life Project podcast. I'm your host, Daniel James, and today I'm absolutely delighted to introduce to you Bianca Brathwaite, who is the founder of Mindset Maintenance. And for those of you that are long-term listeners of the podcast, you will know that I have had two previous guests on that actually did talks at Mindset Maintenance. And if you follow me on social media, you will know that I was fortunate enough to be a keynote speaker at the last Mindset Maintenance event. It's an incredible organization, and Bianca is absolutely awesome. So it's an absolute pleasure to be speaking with her today. So welcome to the podcast, Bianca. How are we?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to be on.
Honestly, I
Very
love it.
excited.
I love everything about you. I love your energy. Like even when we first met, because I
Oh,
kind of like dropped you a
thanks.
message. And, we were talking about me coming in and doing a talk, and then as soon as you
Yeah.
jumped on a Zoom call, it was meant to be like a 5-minute thing. And I
Yeah.
think we were chatting for about 45 minutes. And I came off and I was just like, this person is awesome. So
Oh,
again, and
thank
we've been
you.
chatting for 20 minutes off air. So
Yeah.
for me, let's just sort of take moments back. Like, what
Mm.
made you want to set up Mindset Maintenance? What was the catalyst for you? Because it's a big thing to take on, setting up a charity, and especially with a
Mm.
topic like mindset, like mental health. What was the driving factor for you in wanting to actually do this?
We're getting straight in there. I love it.
We are, yeah.
There's no better
Okay,
way.
well,
No better
listen,
way.
you've just told me we've got 50 minutes. So I'm like, right, we've got 50 minutes. We're going straight
Right.
in there.
Okay.
No
Do you
pressure.
know what? No. That's fine. That's fine. The- Getting straight into it is cool with me. I'm an open book. I'm a deep thinker, a deep speaker. But I actually think I always, we always think this is what drove me. This is what drove me. But actually, when I think about it, there are a lot of driving factors that I think made me, not made me, but were the catalyst for me setting up Mindset Maintenance. So the the main ones being family loss. So I lost my auntie to homicide and I lost my cousin to suicide. Um, I lost my auntie in 2014, and then so that was like at the beginning of my 20s. And then I lost my cousin when I was 31, at the end of my 20s. And so whilst that, obviously, that's, no one wants to go through that. Of course not. That's a horrific thing. It was a horrific thing. It is, as time moves on, you learn how to manage it and things do get better. But in between both of those things happening, and you could just say it's part of life, of going through your 20s and trying all these different things, but I actually think that deep within you when it gets to a point where you are trying to run away. So my 20s was very much the parties, the drugs, the alcohol, the late nights, the no self-respect, because we can talk about all of these things, right? Alcohol and this and that, but actually there was no self-respect.
Mm.
There was no looking at my emotions. There was no understanding. There was no self-awareness. There was, and these all cause this domino effect. I can't even talk. And I think they all link into each other.
Mm.
So it got to the lockdown, and I think I've always been into personal development to a degree, but it was a bit of when I wanted to be, like,
Mhm.
oh, I've just had a weekend on the smash. I've been out all weekend, so now I'm going to go to the gym because
Yeah.
that'll make me feel better.
I feel sorry for myself. I'm gonna go to the gym and make it better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas it's not, whereas now I'm a lot more intentional with how I spend my time. And yeah, I think getting to the lockdown and having that space, I know lockdown was difficult for many people, and it was, there were parts of it that were difficult, but for me, for someone who my mind is very hectic, I have a very hectic mind. And for me to be able to just stop and think clearly just was amazing for me. I just sat there and I thought, what am I doing with my life? So I created this support group before the lockdown, actually. The year of the lockdown, the year of the first lockdown that we went in, I just thought, I think when you get that feeling of empathy, you just want to nurture other people, you just want to look after people. I had these ideas in my head and I thought, I want to do something. I want to create a space where people just feel like they're not being judged, or they don't have to be someone else. They could just come in, they could just be themselves. If they're having a shit day, they can have a shit. Am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
You are. Don't worry. Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, woohoo. And I just wanted them to be in this place, where they just could be them. And it was like mindset maintenance, but on a smaller scale, obviously,
Mm.
because that was the first thing that I created, and it was called the Support Society Original. And then the lockdown hit, and so I did like a bit of an online workshop for them all, and then it kind of, it dried up because we're all just trying to navigate like the shit show that it was. What
Mhm.
even, oh my gosh, I don't even know. And then I lost my cousin, and then after that, I don't know if that was like a factor or if it was just happened to be around the same time that I thought, "Do you know what? I need to look after myself more. I need to do more. I need to like this. We have a personal responsibility for our own well-being and
Mhm.
how we are living our lives, and how, I went to the doctors, and this was a real light bulb moment for me, right? I went to the doctors and I was just like, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. What are you going to do for me? And I just had this moment where I thought, who do I think I am?
Mm.
I've just gone into the doctors asking them what they're going to do for me with absolutely no thought of, okay, but first, what are you going to do for yourself? Because you stay out all weekend, your sleeping habits are shit, you put crap in your body, wait a minute. I think someone else needs to be the focus before we move on to the doctors.
Mm.
Not saying that doctors, they're brilliant and they are there to help us, but we have to be playing ball, right? We have to play ball. We have to help ourselves.
I think that's the biggest thing with this. And again, some people, when it comes to the depression, anxiety, whatever it is, it can be a chemical imbalance in the brain. So they
Mm,
do really
mm.
do need to get themselves on the drugs as soon as
Yes,
possible to level them out,
exactly.
100%. But for me, one of the biggest things when it comes to coaching is, again, now with the Ascend coaching program that I run people through, my thing is like, no one knows you better than you know yourself.
Mm,
And the thing is, we want someone else to come in and tell us about ourselves and fix it and almost validate how we're feeling and validate all these bad things. Like, oh, no, it's okay. It's like, it's not okay if, as you said, you're not looking after yourself. You're essentially
mm,
abusing your body. You're staying
mm,
up all night. You're doing all this stuff that you know is wrong.
mm.
You want someone to come in and be like, well, you can carry on doing that.
Yeah.
I'll give you this and you'll be okay. When actually, what you need to do is take some responsibility and just be like, actually, yeah, like I've got a part to play in this. And again, what I will
Mm,
say is what's happened in your past may not be your fault.
yeah,
However, from this moment forwards, it's your responsibility. And that's a
exactly.
big thing. And again, you can work with the doctor about that because they can give you some help, support, some guidance, hopefully. And the first thing you got to do, as you said, is you got to go in there and be like, I need to take responsibility for my part in this
Mm,
and just
mm.
ask for some help. And that's a massive thing. You mentioned quite a few things here about in your 20s, because as you sort of said there, like in your 20s, I think a lot of people, as you said, they go for the 20s. It's a time when you explore, you do stuff.
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain cutoff point. And if
Mm,
you didn't have that cutoff point, you carry on. That's then
Yeah.
when it comes into like self-abuse almost. And
Yeah.
that's sort of what I sort of said with some stuff I used as a vice in the past.
Mm.
None of that stuff was bad until you're using it to essentially abuse yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
social form of acceptable self abuse, and
Mm.
no one kind of talks about it. So,
Mm.
what was your kind of, you obviously went to the doctor said that to you. What was then your sort of moment where you did then take some responsibility? And what did that look like for you? Because a lot of people will be in the situation you're in now, maybe in the 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
They're doing
Yeah.
stuff they know isn't helping.
Mm.
You've just said it starts with you.
Yeah.
What does that process actually look like to unpicking and doing some of that stuff?
Yeah. So, and I just want to caveat to what you said regarding the doctors as well, because I absolutely agree there. Like they're there to help, and if you do have anxiety
Absolutely.
and depression, then
Absolutely.
yeah, they're going to support you with that. But I knew in myself that there were things that I needed to do. You know, let's go back and address that. Let's go back to the GP and address that. If once you sorted your sleep out and your drinking and the narcotics, let's then see. And so for me, I think looking back, you're absolutely right. I do think part of it is, look, we try these things and it's great and we're having fun with our friends. And don't get me wrong, like there were good times, but something that I always say is the great times are great until they're not. And when they're not, they're really not.
Mhm.
And yeah, you're right. I wanted to, because when I turned 18, I could drive. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to drive when we go clubbing, and I could happily drive, and it'd be fine. And then, like, what knocks you over into this place where you can't go out without having a drink? Um, I don't really know, but yeah. So as it got to my late 20s, I was always that person that was absolutely fine drinking, but then I got to this point where I almost hit that fuck it button,
Mm.
and it was just like one drink too far, and then it was I'm not going home, let's go and find a party, let's go. And when I look back now, almost feel like embarrassment, like I was dragging my friend, like I wanted to be on this level, and I want you to be on the level with me, because if you're not, then it's not fun.
Mm.
So I was almost dragging my friends down,
And was it also a
and
sense as well that it kind of again validated you, so you're not the
yeah,
only one doing it. So for the
yeah,
people
yeah,
doing
yeah.
it, it's okay because it's not just me.
Yeah.
I'm not the crazy one because they're doing it with me.
Mm, mm. And I just got to this point. I actually read a book, um, Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Drinking. I read that, and after that, I was just like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this anymore. And then I think I went back to try and, so this was in, yeah, 2021. I went in the summer of 21. I was like, I'm going to try and moderate my drinking. Like it will be fine. And then it was, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. Like with a push a button, I was like, what is going on? No. And then after that, I stopped. And I haven't been drunk since. I'd be lying if I said I haven't had a drink since, because I tried to have a drink when I was in Australia last year, and it was amazing because I drank it, and my that relationship is so different now,
Mm.
and that world that I was in just feels so far from what my reality is now. And so I think I had like a glass of prosecco, and it just made me really tired. We were going out
Hmm.
for dinner after, and I was like,
Nope.
after dinner, I was like, I'm gonna have to go to bed, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm really tired.
Mm.
And that was, yeah, that was that. I think you just have to accept that it's not easy to do, um, especially when you stop drinking, because you really are lifting up a mask. And when you feel your feelings, you have to feel your feelings.
Mm.
There is no, oh, do you know what? Let's go and have a couple of glasses of wine and take the edge off. Like you have to sit there and you have to feel it. And I honestly, like, yeah, it might have been hard in those times, but it is one of the best decisions I have ever, ever made.
Did you do it by yourself? When you go through this process, did you have any friends that you were talking to, anyone you were leaning on? Because
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing when it comes to emotions, as you mentioned. I was actually
Mm,
going to loop back around to the emotions. I'm glad you touched on it. Is that most people drink to suppress their emotions. It's a bit
mm,
like the whole escapism. So then, as you
yeah.
sort of said, you then no, I'm going to start to feel. And then the
Yeah.
first thing they start to feel is to go to the thing that they used to suppress it. So then it never really works. They kind of open the door a
Yeah.
little bit. It's like, oh, I don't like that. I'm going to use whatever it is.
Yeah.
So what did that process look like for you when you were stepping into that uncomfortableness? Were you doing it by yourself? Was it friends, family?
So I was doing it. I had family and friends, close family and friends that are still my, my closest people to me now. They're still around me now and they support everything I do. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. And the whole time they were just like, yeah, if you want to do it, you do it. We support you. Then you have the people that I guess, I don't really feel like never really majorly fallen out with anyone. I've broken off from people that I've realized aren't good for me. Um, because there are people that they're there for the surface level
Mm,
shit, I like
mm,
to say. They're there when you want to go out and they'll be ready. They'll be ready and waiting when you want to go out and get pissed or you want to go and gossip about people. But when you want to get to it, what about if when you want to meet on a Sunday morning for coffee because you're not feeling too great and you need someone to talk to? Nah, sorry,
mm,
I'm hungover. Can't make it.
mm,
Like you will naturally lose friends when you are going through a transitional period in your life. But that's not something to be feel guilty for. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's not something to fear. That is just a natural part of life.
mm-hmm,
And if you are changing and you're growing as a person, that's just part and parcel of it.
mm-hmm,
And I think people need to realize that if you are going to grow as a person and someone doesn't want to come along for the ride and "Ugh, I'm out, I'm dropping off, you don't want to come out and get pissed anymore." Okay, well, do you want them in your life?
mm-hmm,
Do you want them in your life as you're growing as a person? Because I don't think I would.
mm.
And,
And it's not judging them either for it, is it? Because again,
no,
it's their
exactly.
journey. So
Exactly.
you were like that, but you are now no
Hmm,
longer that's not where you're at. That's okay. So
exactly that.
you're not judging them, but just realizing, okay, like I'm and not you're not saying this in a big head. It's like, I've outgrown you. I've outgrown this part of my life. No judgment, but this is where I'm going now.
And this is it, to not be judgmental about where you are going. This is my choice that I've made for me. But if other people want to live in other ways, look, you know what you know. They haven't walked a life in my shoes. They haven't experienced the things I've experienced, and nor have I with what they've experienced. So how can I can't sit there and I really do put my hands up when I first stopped drinking. It was like, you should all stop drinking and being sober is amazing. And now I just think, Bianca, the audacity, get off your high horse because
Mm,
actually I'm not there to tell anyone to stop doing anything. Maybe I was at some point. I probably have been a hypocrite at some point. No, in fact, I know I have, but I'm happy with that, and that's something that I always think of it like the rap battle in 8 Mile. Where he just spits out a load of stuff. Look, I know that I've done this, so you don't use it against
the
me,
amount of times that I quote that scene, it's like
right?
that's what it's all about. It's like just literally just owning all your stuff. And again,
Yeah,
and this is what I
just
say, like
owning.
I don't have a good past, but
Mm,
I've been a hypocrite sometimes. But it's like
yeah,
for me, it's like
absolutely.
don't judge me on my past, judge me on what I'm doing. Once
Yeah,
I
I'm
start to be
trying.
intentional and what good I'm putting out there.
Exactly. I'm not perfect, but I am trying to be better. And I think this is one thing that I'm trying to understand a lot more. And I'm just loving being this person that I'm just like, do you know what? I haven't got it all together and I'm fine with that. I'm becoming so much more happy with who I am. And I actually lean into the things that I'm perhaps not great at. I used to find it really hard to articulate my words and I still do. You'll see that on the podcasts and things like that. But I'm getting better at it. But I just think as soon as you accept, no, 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 actually that's me. Yeah, that's who I am. And I'm okay with that. Like it's not in a putting myself down kind of way. It's in a this is me.
Mm,
And I don't strive to be perfect. I strive to be human. And
mm,
that is the ethos of what I am. I'm a human being. So yes, I have been very hypocritical about, telling people that they drink is poison and yada yada yada. But I also think that we are in this society of it's either one or the other.
mm.
But why can't we just be, you know, if you're having a hard time, it is okay to, maybe reduce the amount of glasses of wine you're having an evening. You don't have to stop cold turkey. Like, only that individual person will know what they need to do for themselves.
Mm. So you said everyone knows their tipping point.
Yeah.
And then there's a difference between having a drink and going to that tipping point.
Mm.
And that's the thing. It's like for me, like I said, I still very openly talk about alcohol being poison. However, I don't
Mm.
do it in a judgmental way. I'm just like, did you actually know this? Most
Yeah.
people don't know. It's like once you've got all the facts, you do you. I've got no judgment here at all, but you need
Yeah.
to know the facts. And
Yeah.
then for me, my thing is just asking, what are you doing it for?
Mm.
Because do
Mm.
you actually enjoy it? Because there's a certain point where you enjoy it and then it tips over and then the
Yeah.
regret,
And then
the
it's
anxiety
shit.
comes in. Exactly. And then the next day you wipe out 3 days, like recovering,
Mm.
etc., etc., etc. So for me, it's just like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And do you need to do it to that extreme? If that's just
Mm.
yes, you do you. Everyone's on their own
Yeah.
journey. One thing I
Yeah.
just want to pick up on, we said about the alcohol and stopping and potentially losing friends, is that for me, disruption always follows intention.
Mm.
So as soon as you start to be intentional about something, disruption normally follows, because what you're doing is by being intentional. I'm intentionally not going to be drinking. I'm
Mm.
intentionally going to be trying to better myself. You're creating a new version, a new ripple, as it were.
Yeah.
So the disruption's always going to follow that, because it's not
Mm.
just your life you're affecting, you're then affecting other
Mm.
people's lives, hopefully for the better long term. But
Yeah.
those people that, again, they wanted on a Friday night to go out and get wasted, right? No one else wants to go, right? Bianca's going to do it. So they
Mm.
knew you were there. And again, the
Mm.
party girl, that's what they loved you for. You've now taken that away from them. There's going to be some friction there, and that's okay. But for me,
Yeah.
that discomfort, that disruption, that is for me the universe's way of saying, do you actually want that thing that you've become intentional about, or
Mm.
just do you just kind of want it? So I think
Mm.
that's then for me, people realizing that once you do make these big changes or choices and then changes, that disruption will follow that, and it's
Yeah.
okay and it is
Yeah.
normal. You've
Yeah.
got to weather that storm, and that's when the other stuff happens on the other side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much stuff happens on the other side of it. The everything that's happened since me stopping drinking, because it just gives me so much time back. All this
Mm,
time that I didn't realize I had, because it was hidden away in Sunday mornings and, you know, early before work and after work when I would normally go straight home to bed on Sunday. It's
mm,
just it is just insane. And I think it's becoming there's a lot more people that are curious about it.
mhm.
Sober curious is a huge thing now. And I get people message me like, Bianca, I'm thinking about going, and I'm like, you should, because I promise you it is, again, if they don't want to, that's fine, but try it. I'd say with many of things, try it.
Mm. Because I think what most people want is they want to try and build that relationship with themselves. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it can be scary, especially in your 20s and in your 30s. I think they're two very pivotal sort of moments in your
Mm,
life where you are
mm,
kind of, you're moving from your teens to your 20s. And then the 20s, again, it's like you practice run. Then your 30s, you kind of got to start getting a bit serious. I
yeah.
feel like that
Yeah.
mentally can be a time when people are all struggling. But for me, it's very hard from the lot of stuff that I'm doing now when it comes to like neuroscience and quantum physics and stuff, blah, 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 is that from that place of chaos,
Mm,
it's hard to find anything about yourself because the environment's
yeah.
not there for success. And
Yeah.
actually, just by removing some of that stuff, whatever that is, whether it is the drugs, the alcohol,
Yeah.
the sex, whatever it is, the stuff that's massively distracting you, and again, as you mentioned, could be a form of self abuse, and then gives you that space to figure out, well, who am I and do I want to be? Because for me, a lot of people are living a life, they're living someone else's life. They were told
Mm,
from an early age, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and they've kind of just gone
yeah.
through life and never really asked the question, well, who am I and what do I want?
Yeah.
But
And
once they get to do
also
that, it's good space.
for people to understand, look, I'm 34 now, and to my sister who's 21, I'm well old. To
Yes, I'm
to
34 as
to
well,
my
so that makes me
mum,
sad.
sorry, mate, her words. But you're never too old to do anything. I want to go back to Australia, and I do a lot of solo traveling, and I'm doing these things that I honestly, because society made me think it, I thought, well, I'm never going to be able to do all of these things. All of my friends went traveling and did this and did that, and I can't do that. But I'm realizing that I can. You can literally do anything within reason,
Mhm.
as long as it's not legal. But you can do anything. It's just society that's telling you that this is what you should be doing. I've always just done a 9 to 5 because I thought I should be doing that. And the thing with personal development and looking after your well-being and anything, whatever it is you want to call it, I think there are levels to it. I
Mm,
think there are levels that you break out and you keep evolving. And so, the first, probably one of the first levels I learned getting into it was boundaries.
mm,
How do I set boundaries? And then I got to this place where I was just like, wait a minute, I don't have to pay £500 for this holiday that I don't actually want to go on.
mm.
And so I just said no, which will shake some people up, but that's cool. Because once you start doing it, you kind of get the hang of it, and it's
Yeah.
actually quite cool. No, I'm not doing it. Sorry, can't make it.
Hmm.
But you can then start to mold your life into how you want it to be. And I just keep breaking through level after level, I swear by it. Knowledge is power. So I've learned about how my brain works. And then I'll learn about cortisol and why that has such an effect to my hormones. And then I'll learn about, there's always this next level. And in that level, there's so much greatness.
Mm,
I always say Bianca in her late 20s would have never, ever, like, for anyone that knew me back then, I never would have set up. It's actually quite funny because my friend come round for dinner on Friday and we used to work together. I think I started there when I was like 22. And she said, do you remember when you used to sit at your desk and cry because you were so overwhelmed at all of the tasks that you had to do
mm,
and you just couldn't organize it? And I think back to that, and she said, also reminds me of the time that I took money out of my pension so I could get new tires for my Corsa.
mm,
But it's like stuff like that. Like I was that person. And now, and I obviously that comes with age and growing up as well, but it was never this person that even thought I was worthy of running
mm,
a CIC, or I would have never got on a plane to go to Australia because I was too scared of flying. I just didn't have it in me. And all of a sudden, I am this person, public speaking scared the crap out of me. And now I'll get on a stage and that feeling in my belly drives me,
mm,
Yeah, I still feel nervous. Of course I do. But you got to remember, nerves is the same feeling as excitement, right? So
mhm,
you got to rechannel it, be excited about it,
mm,
remember what the opportunity is. But what I'm trying to say is I once did not in a midst of me having all these shitty ways of coping and not looking after my well-being, I did not think I was worthy. I didn't think that I would ever be able to travel far or do things on my own or actually live an independent life or run a CIC. And I'm here doing it because of the things that I have learned about myself and because of the comfort zones that I've kept pushing myself
mm,
out of.
mm,
Like these levels bring great things. So my last level bought me a trip to Australia. My next levels bought me another trip to Australia because I just booked a ticket. Like you've got to think of it that way. Like what are you missing out on when you're just living a life without pushing your boundaries and pushing your limits and I just think life is there to be lived. And there are some people that they just want to go to work, come home,
mhm,
maybe do a couple of staycations in the UK. That's cool. But I can bet you a lot of people listening to this podcast don't want that.
mm. It's that uncomfort, and again, it's kind of yourself. There's
Mm,
something there that's missing. I think the
mm,
biggest thing is when you mentioned there about not feeling worthy. It's then no one else is going to give you permission to be worthy. No one else can give you that permission. You have to give yourself permission. And
mm,
again, without going too much down the rabbit hole, because again, I know we've got a limited amount of time. It's like, for me, it's just unpicking where that lack of worthiness has come from. Who has
mm,
planted that in your head?
mm.
Because you were not born with that lack of worthiness. That has
Yep,
been taught to you. Like
yep,
you've been told it maybe once and you've repeated it in your head,
yep.
or you've been told it multiple times. So then you
Mm,
think it's truth. But then it's then
mm,
starting to question, like, well, why do I think this? Because most people
Yeah.
don't ever stop to question their thoughts. And then again, the whole thing, thoughts become a reality. It's literally because if you tell yourself things enough times, you then
Mm.
become what we think about. But then we never stop to question, well, where did this come from? Where did
Yeah.
this lack of self-worth come from? Why do I not think I'm worthy?
Mm.
And then it's like, well, in primary school, that boy or girl rejected me, or my secondary school teacher said this, or
Mm.
my mum once said that. And then you start to question it and keep questioning, you realize that all this stuff is just BS.
Mm.
And you've lived your whole life restricted by these constraints that you've put yourself. It's like that thing
Yeah.
with the elephant, where an elephant, when it's younger, has a little pin or whatever it is, like a nail that holds it in the ground, and then it can't escape. And then as
Mm.
the full grown, it gets into a full grown elephant, it can pull that thing out of the ground, the nail out of the ground, but it doesn't think it can because it's just given up. And that's kind of what we do in childhood. Like someone
Yeah.
puts this little stake in the ground and we just can't get out of it. But as an adult, we've got the ability to push through.
Mm.
I just want to sort of link back round to the whole mindset maintenance thing,
Yeah.
because we kind of like went off a massive tangent, which was awesome. Um, Before I dive into that, what was your relationship like with your cousin, and how old was your cousin when he took his life?
24. And yeah, I've been close with all of my family growing up, all of my family. And yeah, I guess we weren't close when he took his life. Um, which I think is really hard for people, when people lose people, that's one of the hardest things is if they're not in contact with them or if they're not speaking to them or if they live far away, that can be really difficult. Um, yeah, so it's one thing losing someone, but then it comes with a lot of what ifs.
Hmm. And how did you navigate that? Because let's say, hopefully, the chances are someone here listening said you had gone through that.
Mm,
How did you navigate through that, like the what ifs? Like how was that period for you? Because for me, I've never experienced that, but
mm,
as you sort of mentioned, I imagine that the what ifs can become quite crippling. So how did you sort of navigate that period? Bearing in mind sort of where you were at mentally as well at that time in your life.
mm. I think it's just important to talk about it, but to talk about it in a controlled environment. And right, when I say this, I meant that I used to drink silly amount of alcohol, then go and speak to probably people that I wasn't even close with, in the middle of a festival or whatever it is. That's not a controlled environment. That's not a safe space. Find people that you trust and that you can speak to about things like that, and that they'll hold you, they'll meet you where you are, they'll understand. If you need to get external help, therapy, counseling, do it. I've done therapy, counseling, um, NLP, CBT, tried. I've done. I say try, but no, they've all served a purpose. I
Hmm.
believe they all serve a purpose, and they all help you with where you are at that moment in time. Um, Sorry, just moving my hair out the way. But also accepting your thoughts, because we have. You'll know this, Daniel. We have like so many thoughts a day, and like what is it, 70-80% of them are negative thoughts.
Or just recurring thoughts, like past thoughts, just keep repeating themselves. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we try so much. I mean, how many times, if you're listening, have you been like, I need to stop thinking negatively? Why don't you just manage how you're channeling those thoughts? Okay, so this thought comes into your head, notice it, like almost talk, and self-talk for me has been huge as of
Absolutely,
recently. I
absolutely.
will talk to myself out loud.
Hmm.
I was about to say if I'm on my own, sometimes if I'm around people, because
Hmm.
there is nothing more powerful than your thoughts. So if I'm having a thought that's negative or sad come into my head, I will take it and I will talk to myself, or I will just notice it and I will rechannel it. And I think you have to take extra measures, not measures. You have to put in the work to talk to yourself positively and to retrain yourself to think these good things.
Mm.
Um, And one of those things to think about is that you cannot change the past. You cannot change the past. You've got no control over the future. You've got to just let it be where you are right now.
Mm. I love what you said there as well. A lot of people say, I need to stop thinking negatively. And then for me, it's like what we resist persists. So the more you
Mm,
say, I need to stop thinking negatively, what are you giving thought to and energy to? The
yeah,
negative thinking. So for
yeah,
me, it's then just starting to notice and realize that we are not our thoughts.
yeah.
So it's a really powerful thing when the thoughts come up, realizing that we are not our thoughts.
Mm,
And it's then just asking yourself, like, I'm noticing that I'm having this thought
yeah,
about whatever it is. So just
yeah.
realizing that the thought, again, the way I describe it is like they're just like clouds, just passing clouds that come and go. And
Exactly
too many
that.
times we think that we are the clouds.
Mm,
And for me, it's just like, right, can we just sort of sit with it? And you just sort of said, just sit with this thought and
mm,
just, what's this thought trying to tell us? Is it true? Does it have any facts behind it? Do I want to feel this way? If not, why not?
yeah,
And just sit with it and
yeah.
then realize the more you just sit with the thought in that feeling, the more it then loses its power because thoughts, as you mentioned, we have so many thoughts each day.
Mm,
The only thing that gives thoughts power is our energy.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So the more energy we diffuse from that thought, the less power it has over us. But that can be uncomfortable and that can be hard. And
Mm,
I'm really so glad you mentioned about talking about it because this is kind of where I wanted to go with this. And I didn't, I've set you up to go here, but I knew that's what I said then before we started. I was going to ask you a question. I said no. Um, so I'm glad I've managed to sneak our way here. So with mindset maintenance,
mm,
you like people to come and share their stories and they can be really raw. So obviously when I was there, I
yeah,
was one of the more experienced speakers and you had two
yeah.
people who were fantastic, George and Tyler. They were incredible,
Mm,
not seasoned pros when it came to public speaking. However, their raw story of
mm,
their struggles with mental health and their attempts at taking their life is probably one of, again, gives me goosebumps now, probably one of the most impactful things I've ever experienced in my life. And I came on after Tyler, and I needed 5 minutes to basically just get myself back because it hit me so hard.
yeah,
And I was you
yeah.
were there with me backstage. I was almost getting quite emotional with it and holding back the tears. How is it for you hearing stories like that, having gone through it with your cousin?
That's a really good question. And do you know what? This is where I need to be more present. I think if I'm being honest, and this might not be the answer that you want to hear, but it's the honest answer, right?
That's what we're here for.
Is that when it comes to events, my, especially being the founder, everyone wants something from you.
Oh yeah,
And
you didn't stop moving the entire time.
this
You
is
were
our biggest event of the year. So whilst these stories impact me and hit me, I think at the time I'm just so busy making sure everyone's okay, everyone's happy, are the mics working? Is this on? Yada yada, you know how it is. I think, and this is with grief, this is with yeah, anything to do. It might not be loss in that way. It could just be grief. I think it hits at the times when you're not expecting it.
Mhm.
I think it hits. It'll get to their birthday or an anniversary, and I think I don't feel sad. I'm not crying. Everyone else has got. Should I be crying? But actually, we're human beings. We're not designed to. We're not robots. We don't automatically cry when we get a reminder coming up of an anniversary.
Mm.
So if you're one of those people like me that I don't necessarily cry on the anniversary, but if I'm going through my memories on Facebook and something popped up, which triggers a reminder of that I was doing something with them that day or the day before, or, dates for me, I can be told a date and my brain will automatically go, that was 3 years and 4 months since the loss of my auntie. My brain just knows it straight away. So I don't think it's in the things that you'd think
Mm.
set off grief and emotions. I think it's in those random little moments. Like I found out that my auntie, she did a lot of work. She worked in publishing. So she worked for Walker Books, Penguin Books, and before she died, she worked for Witch magazine. Um, And I recently found out that because she'd done so much work for diversity in the publishing industry, there is a publishing the Alison Morrison Diversity Award that gets awarded out to publishing companies. They obviously have this yearly awards night, and her award gets awarded for someone within that industry.
Mm.
And that hit me. That hit me. I got really, really emotional. I was not expecting to get emotional. I was like, that's really cool. Yeah, yeah, on the phone. And then all of a sudden I'm in tears. It's
Mm.
just so unexpected. And I don't think you can plan for it.
No,
I think you literally have to ride it out. But also, I used to be so scared of things like this. Oh, grief is going to hit me. I'm going to cry and I'm going to be in the middle of a shop. And oh my God, just let it pass through you. Like, it's not supposed to be like, see it as a beautiful moment. Don't see it as something to be scared of. Like, grief is the price we pay for love.
absolutely.
So let it engulf you and let it pass and move
Mm.
it. And I know it's easier said than done. I know it's easier said than done. Um, but if you don't try and look at it this way, then how will you look at it?
Absolutely. It's just reframing it and how you're looking at it.
Mm,
And that's the thing for
mm,
me. But for me, and again, I'm glad you were honest with that answer. Again, I never want you to compose an answer that I want to hear. Because for me, obviously, I didn't know about your cousin. I didn't know about your aunt. I knew nothing about that when I went to mindset maintenance.
mm,
And I said, hearing those two stories myself in person, it's like, this is like, it was hard to hear.
mm,
And for me, I think the reason why I was asking is that in almost like a roundabout way, you're creating an environment that potentially your cousin needed, where they
mm,
can come and hear people being really raw,
yeah,
vulnerable, and actually, as males, expressing themselves.
mm,
Because again,
mm,
for me, I think I mentioned this to you, I got a client off the back of doing that event, and his wife literally dragged him to this event. He wasn't interested in any of this sort of stuff. And when he heard me talk, he went, you just hit me on a level, like, and I actually needed to work with you. And that's the amazing sort of thing you've created, this amazing space where people can come
mm,
and just feel heard
yeah,
and seen, even if they're not outwardly expressing that they're struggling, if that makes sense. So their
yeah,
wife can drag
yeah,
them along, or their husband can drag them along, or a friend can drag them along, and they can sit there and be like, wow, like
mm,
people can be on stage and be that raw and authentic and vulnerable. And because they're so raw, authentic, and vulnerable, where I was a bit more polished, it hits it hits
yeah,
differently.
yeah,
It hits differently
yeah,
because you can't, when you see a guy like that being that raw and vulnerable, there's no way you can avoid that.
yeah.
So you've created genuinely a really beautiful thing. And like I said, the reason why I asked that is I didn't know if you kind of just realised the sort of impact that it actually has on people, because
Mm,
I'm not sure many people would outwardly say how much it impacted them. Obviously, you get a few people that do, but genuinely,
yeah,
it was an
yeah.
amazing event to be part of.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was just great to have you there. Really, really great. But we're yeah, we're looking at the 2024 event, which is going to be on the 1st of September. And we're just, yeah, gearing up to launch ticket sales at the end of the month, which is very exciting.
Well, I'll be there. I know I won't be speaking, but I will be there because I said it's just amazing,
Amazing.
amazing thing to be a part of. And I said
Yeah.
100% make the journey down there. Obviously, I know you've got to go. You've got a parking thing. However, just one quick final question. And again, you can either summarize what you've said or hit it
Mm,
from another angle.
mm.
Um, what bit of advice would you give to someone right now that is listening to this and they do feel a bit stuck and they do feel a bit out of control with their life?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think we are in a world where the pace is very quick.
Mm.
The pace is very quick. I think we also, many of us, not all of us, that's not, I don't want to assume there, but many of us are very quick to take on the beliefs of other people, what other people think we should do. I'm sat here saying, well, you should do this. Well, you should try not drinking. You should do ice water therapy. Take some time out, like just clear your schedule. Whatever you have going on can wait, because this is like what your mental health and well-being that is at stake here. This is what we're talking about.
Without that, you've got nothing. Yeah.
You have nothing. Like, if you're gone, you're gone. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Take some time out, clear your diary, take yourself. Honestly, I was once a person that could not do anything on my own. I was absolutely like, no, I'm not ever leaving my parents' house. I'm going to live there forever. Oh my God, I love just solo tripping. Take yourself away by yourself. Do something and sit and reflect and think about what it is that you need and what you want, not what anyone else thinks you should have or what is best for them or what is gonna, yeah, a lot of people will tell you you should do this, but who is that helping in the long run,
Mm.
you know? And I think people need to sit and they really need to have a think about their, yeah, what they need, what they want, and what is surrounding them. Because, like you said, Daniel, at your talk at Mindset Maintenance, if you are surrounded, what are you putting in your, what was it you called it, the
The
sausage
sausage
grinder?
machine, the sausage
What are
machine.
you
Yeah.
putting in it? Because if you are putting, say that you are following models on your social media when you already feel really, really shit about yourself, yeah? Are you following people that are good for your mental health? Are you surrounding yourself with people that are good for you? Are you are your habits good? Is your lifestyle good? Like, you've got to weigh it all up. And if you're getting overwhelmed with that, just start with one area. Okay, actually my finances aren't great. Okay, focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. I think we're in this thing of thinking that we know we have to do it all at once. We really don't. We
No,
really don't have to do it all at once.
just one step at a time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think you've said some beautiful things there because people don't want to ask themselves the difficult questions because it can be a hard
Mm,
conversation to again basically point the mirror back at themselves and take a hard look.
mm.
And for me, it's that amazing quote: the cave you fear to enter holds the greatest treasure. And actually, you need to basically take a look inwards. You don't want to do it, but I promise
Yeah,
you, it'll be the best thing that you ever do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think it's a fantastic bit of advice. Where can people find out more information about you and mindset maintenance? So if people are curious about it, if people want to get tickets, obviously they're not out yet, but where can people find out more information about you and mindset maintenance?
So mindset maintenance, we have a website which is just mindset-maintenance.co.uk. Then we also have a Instagram and a Facebook. So if you type in mindset maintenance on Facebook, it should come up. It's a bright yellow logo. You can't miss it. On Instagram, it's mindset_maintenance. And my Instagram is I am Bianca Louise underscore. I like underscores apparently. So that's where people can find out more. And yeah, like I said, I'm an open book. If anyone wants to ask me any more questions, then fire away.
And you've also got some free events as well for mindset maintenance throughout the year as well, don't you? So you've got obviously the big event in person in Portsmouth,
Yeah.
but then obviously throughout the year you've got like free events that people can sign on to. So again, just follow the mindset maintenance page; all the events are on there. So honestly, I know you've got to go, but this has been absolutely incredible, Bianca.
Thank
Like I said, I love
you.
everything you're about. I love everything you've created with mindset maintenance. It's an amazing organisation full of great people. And again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniel.
Well, it's been a pleasure.